What if the reality you live in isn't shaped by what you want, but by who you believe you are? Pause for a moment. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Now, think, who are you when no one is watching? Not the social role, not the name on your ID, not the job title or the role in your family, but the one who vibrates behind your thoughts. We live in a world obsessed with goals, desires, and achievements. We want to prosper, to love, to grow, to be happy. But few stop to realize that the universe doesn't respond to our stated wishes. It responds to the frequency we silently hold. There's an energy that emanates from you every second. It doesn't depend on what you say you want, but on what you believe you deserve, on what you feel is real, on what your identity vibrates, even without words. That's why so many try to change their lives, but keep attracting the same patterns, the same relationships, the same challenges. It's not bad luck. It's not karma. It's vibrational identity. In this video, you'll understand that your outer life is a quantum mirror of your inner vibration, and that changing the world out there requires, first, changing who you are in here. We'll walk together on a path between science and spirituality. You'll learn how your thoughts shape your brain, how your emotions sculpt your electromagnetic field, and why the universe doesn't hear your words, it feels your coherence. Get ready for a journey of self-discovery that can literally shift your reality. Because the truth is simple, deep, and non-negotiable. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Before any belief, religion, or philosophy, there is one point of convergence that no rational mind can deny. Everything, absolutely everything, in the universe is energy. From the simplest atom to the most distant galaxies, everything that exists vibrates at a specific frequency. This isn't mysticism, it's quantum physics. When you look at an object, a chair, a glass, your own body, it appears solid. But science has revealed something astonishing. What we call matter is, in fact, more empty space than substance. Let's simplify. An atom, the basic unit of matter, is made up of a nucleus and electrons orbiting around it. If the nucleus were the size of a soccer ball, the nearest electron would be kilometers away. In other words, matter is mostly empty space, filled with vibrational energy. And that energy vibrates with a specific frequency, intensity, and pattern. And it doesn't stop there. Your thoughts and emotions, yes, even the ones you feel in silence, also have measurable frequencies. Neuroscience and psychophysiology have been measuring this for decades. When you feel anger, fear, guilt, your body emits specific electrical and chemical signals. These emotional states generate an electromagnetic field coherent with the emotion being felt. The same is true for gratitude, love, joy. And your body is a true vibrational antenna. The heart, for example, has an electromagnetic field about 60 times more powerful than the brain's. This field can be detected several feet away and changes based on your emotional state. In other words, you are constantly emitting energy. And now, perhaps, Nikola Tesla's famous quote makes even more sense. If you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. That's exactly it. Everything vibrates. Everything interacts. Everything responds, including your reality. What you're experiencing today, your relationships, your health, your money, your inner peace or chaos, is shaped by the frequencies you're constantly sustaining, often without realizing it. And this is where we begin to build a bridge. Because if science proves that everything is energy, Spirituality teaches us how that energy organizes and responds to our consciousness. Picture yourself as a radio station. You may want to hear classical music, but if you're tuned into a heavy metal frequency, that's what will play, regardless of your conscious desire. So the key isn't in wanting something new, it's in vibrating differently. Now that you understand that everything is energy, including you, it's time to take a closer look at who you believe you are. This isn't just about beliefs or self-esteem. We're talking about identity on a neurological level. After all, what is identity if not a set of thoughts, emotions, and behaviors repeated over time? And all of that happens inside your brain. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, creating and strengthening neural circuits based on the experiences and habits you repeat most. In other words, your self is a neural construction shaped by patterns. Let's break down the cycle that shapes your identity. Thought. You think something like, "I'm not good enough." Emotion. That thought generates a feeling, sadness, insecurity, anxiety. Action. You avoid opportunities, withdraw, or self-sabotage. External confirmation. Reality responds. You miss the chance, get criticized, feel rejected. Vanity. You reinforce the idea. See? I knew it. This always happens to me. This cycle repeats until you become it. Without realizing it, you fall into what scientists call the automatic self-state. It's as if you're living the same inner program every day, thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same emotions, and of course, getting the same results. Now think about this. You might want abundance, peace, love. But if your neural identity is vibrating scarcity, fear, rejection, what do you think the universe is going to reflect back? A real example. Imagine someone who says they want prosperity. They make plans, study finance, even watch manifestation videos. But deep down, they live like someone who's just surviving. They always choose the cheapest option. Avoid investing in themselves, feel guilty when they make money. Their body vibrates scarcity. Their body language says, "I don't deserve this." Their thoughts echo, "This isn't for me." Result? Life mirrors that identity exactly. This is the conflict between conscious intention and subconscious belief. You can say out loud that you want to change, but if your body, your emotions, your gestures, your habits is vibrating something else, the universe responds to what's dominant. And guess what's dominant? What you repeat, what you sustain the longest, what you believe yourself to be. The good news? Neuroscience also shows that these circuits can be changed. You can reprogram your self by bringing awareness to your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. You create space for new neural pathways, new choices, and therefore a new vibrational identity. It's not magic. It's science. It's practice. It's consistency. If the mind commands, it's the heart that tunes in. For centuries, we were taught to see the heart merely as a pump that moves blood through the body. But modern science is revealing something astonishing. The heart is, in fact, an intelligent center for processing emotional and energetic information. Researchers at the HeartMath Institute, one of the most respected centers for studying the connection between emotion and physiology, discovered that the heart has its own nervous system with over 40,000 neurons. This allows it to make decisions, learn, remember, and even communicate with the brain. But what truly amazes scientists is the heart's electromagnetic field. This field, naturally emitted by the heart, is about 60 times stronger than the field generated by the brain. And more importantly, this field changes according to the emotional state you're experiencing. When you feel gratitude, compassion, love, your heart enters a state of coherence. The beats become more rhythmic, harmonious, and this creates a resonance effect that influences the entire body, including the brain. Now imagine what happens when you live in states of fear, anger, resentment. The field becomes incoherent, disharmonic, unstable. And this affects everything, from your physical health to your perception of reality. This is why positive thinking alone isn't enough. You can repeat mantras, say affirmations, visualize abundance. But if, deep down, you feel scarcity, insecurity, doubt, the universe will respond to your dominant emotion. Because in the end, it's the feeling that vibrates. Emotions have frequencies. Literally, gratitude vibrates around 540 Hz. Fear, around 100 Hz. Anger, 150 Hz. Unconditional love, above 600 Hz. And remember, the universe doesn't respond to your rational mind. It responds to your emotional energy field. Your vibrational identity, then, is not what you think you are. It's what you feel you are. And that feeling, that vibrational signature, originates from your heart. That's why changing your life requires more than just learning a new idea. It requires feeling differently, sustaining higher emotional states, even when there's no external reason to do so. Here lies a secret few ever reveal. You don't need to wait for something good to happen in order to feel gratitude. It's the other way around. Feeling gratitude is what brings the good into being. Your emotion is your vibrational code. It's your secret language with the universe. You understand that everything is energy, that the brain shapes your identity, and that the heart is the center of your emotional vibrational field. It's time to put the pieces together and look at the bigger picture. Your interaction with the quantum field. Imagine the universe as a vast, invisible ocean of possibilities. A field of pure energy, before form, before manifestation. Quantum physics calls this the quantum field. In this field, everything that can exist already exists in a state of potential. Every version of your life, success and failure, love and loneliness, health and illness, is already there, vibrating at different frequencies. The question is, which version are you tuning into? To understand this, let's look at one of the most famous experiments in quantum physics, the double-slit experiment. To put it simply, when scientists fire particles, like electrons, through two slits and observe the resulting pattern, they notice something astonishing. When no one is observing, the particles behave like waves, occupying multiple positions at once. But when an observer is present, they collapse into particles, taking on a specific location. This experiment shows that the act of observing, or more precisely, being conscious, changes the behavior of matter. Consciousness collapses possibilities into concrete reality. Now stop and think, what if you are the observer of your own reality? What if your frequency of identity is the lens through which you collapse one possibility among infinite ones? Manifestation, then, wouldn't just be a request to the universe. It would be the vibrational collapse of a specific possibility, activated through the coherence of who you think, feel, and act as. This is the key. The universe doesn't respond to fragile desires, but to vibrational coherence. You don't manifest something because you want it badly. You manifest it because you vibrate as someone who already is that. The metaphor. Imagine a mirror. It doesn't reflect what you wish to see. It reflects what you are right now. Reality is that quantum mirror. If you radiate lack, the reflection will be scarcity. If you vibrate fear, the reflection will be insecurity and obstacles. If you sustain love and abundance, even without external proof, the reflection inevitably changes. But be aware, the quantum mirror doesn't lie. It doesn't respond to tricks, to empty words, to attempts at manipulation. It responds only to the true frequency you emit consistently. That's why the secret of manifestation isn't in wishing, but in embodying, in tuning into the version of yourself that is already living that reality. When your mind, your heart, and your actions vibrate in coherence, the quantum field responds, the wave collapses, and the invisible becomes visible, not by magic, but through vibrational resonance. By now, you've understood that reality responds to your frequency, and that this frequency isn't determined solely by what you want, but by who you feel, think, and act as. The question now is, how do you change that frequency? How do you transform your vibrational identity? The answer lies in a continuous process of awareness, reprogramming, and realignment. Below, you'll find a set of practices that blend neuroscience, psychology, and spirituality. They're not designed to be instant magic tricks, but rather conscious rituals for real transformation. You can't change what you don't notice. So the first step is to develop a non-judgmental observer's gaze toward yourself. Not critical, not harsh, just attentive. Start noticing which thoughts come up most often, which emotions dominate your inner state, which behaviors you repeat even after promising yourself you wouldn't. Simple yet powerful tools. Journaling. Write as if you were listening to yourself for the first time. Observer meditation. Don't try to silence your mind. Simply watch it in action. Reading your reality. What is your life mirroring back to you? What patterns keep repeating? All of these help you identify your current frequency of identity, and more importantly, they show you where you're starting from. Visualization by itself is powerful, but it's even more effective when used as vibrational embodiment. It's not enough to see images in your mind. You need to feel what it would be like to live as this new version of yourself. Visualize with detail. How does this version of you wake up? What clothes do they wear? What body posture do they adopt? How do they speak to others and to themselves? This practice isn't just creative. It literally rewires your brain. Studies in neuroscience show that the brain doesn't clearly distinguish between a real experience and a vividly imagined one infused with emotion. So when you visualize yourself already living that reality, you begin to neurologically install that new identity. You've probably heard of positive affirmations, but the real power lies in practicing them with your body and emotion involved. It's not just about repeating phrases like, "I am abundant." It's about breathing deeply as you say them, looking into your own eyes in the mirror, feeling in your body what that affirmation means. For example, when you say, "I am the vibration of abundance," fill your lungs, expand your chest, feel a subtle energy moving through your body. Give your nervous system permission to believe that truth. Without emotion, an affirmation is just sound. With emotion and somatic presence, it becomes vibrational reprogramming. Here's an uncomfortable truth. You can meditate, visualize, and say affirmations for hours. But if your daily actions don't change, neither will your frequency. You must act as the new identity even before the results show up. This requires practical faith. faith that translates into micro-actions. Examples: the version of you who loves their body, how do they eat? The version of you who lives from passion, how do they structure their time? The version of you who feels worthy, do they say yes or no with more clarity? You don't wait to be in order to act. You act as if you already are, and the being becomes real. Your vibrational frequency is deeply influenced by your sustained emotional state. So learning to regulate emotions is essential. Simple but powerful techniques. Conscious breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, pause for 4, exhale for 6. Grounding. Walk barefoot, connect with nature, use intentional physical touch. Morning gratitude. Before any external stimulus, think of or write down 3 things you're grateful for. These practices don't just calm your mind. They elevate your base vibration. And over time, your emotional system gets used to these elevated states, creating a new vibrational comfort zone. Transforming your frequency of identity isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you were before being conditioned to forget yourself. It's an act of remembrance, and also of conscious creation. At this point, you may already feel a flame igniting within you, the desire to transform your vibrational identity. But it's important to understand that the path of change also involves invisible traps. These are the internal blocks, subtle, persistent, that quietly drain the frequency you're trying to sustain. And if you don't recognize them, you might end up knowing everything, but still living the same way. This is perhaps the most deceptive block. You decide to vibrate love, peace, abundance. But then you start constantly checking to see if it's working. Has the money arrived yet? Did the message get a reply? Has reality already shifted? And when quick results don't appear, frustration, doubt, and anxiety creep in. The problem? That anxiety lowers your frequency. You begin to vibrate scarcity, lack, and distrust. And the universe responds to that, not to your original desire. Attachment is fear disguised as expectation, and fear never manifests. The solution? Practice vibrational detachment. Sustain the emotion as if the result has already happened, but without needing it to happen in order to feel good. You meditate in the morning, say affirmations with conviction, and then spend the rest of the day complaining, comparing, and feeling not enough. This creates conflicting frequencies. Remember, it's not what you do for 15 minutes, but what you vibrate most of the time. The key is vibrational consistency. It's better to hold a high frequency for a few hours with authenticity than to force it and then crash back into the old pattern. Changing identity is like redirecting the course of a river. It requires repetition, intention, and time. If you practice a new state for 2 days and give up on the third, your brain returns to the familiar path, the old automatic self. This sentence sums it all up. The universe doesn't respond to occasional moments of faith, but to the predominant frequency you sustain with consistency. That's why, more important than intensity, is continuity. Even if it's subtle, even if it's invisible, the new you is being sculpted in every moment. Up until now, you've explored concepts, science, emotion, and practice. But maybe you're still wondering, does this really work? Are there people who have actually lived this? Many. And some have shared their journeys in public, inspiring ways. Jim Carrey and the $10 million check. One of the most iconic examples is that of actor Jim Carrey. Before fame, he wrote himself a symbolic check for $10 million, dated Thanksgiving 1995, with a memo for acting services rendered. He carried that folded check in his wallet, not just as a wish, but as a vibrational anchor for his new identity. He wasn't just a struggling comedian. He vibrated as someone already successful, even when no one else saw it. The result? A few years later, he received exactly $10 million to star in Dumb and Dumber. Coincidence? Or vibrational coherence manifesting into concrete reality? Oprah Winfrey and the frequency of worthiness. TV host Oprah, one of the most influential women in the world, often speaks about the power of intention aligned with emotion. In her youth, while living in extreme poverty, she would say to herself, "I was made for something greater." This inner conviction wasn't arrogance, it was vibration. It was a field of coherence that attracted opportunities, people, and visibility. She embodied worthiness even before the world recognized her. Athletes and scientists. Studies with Olympic athletes show that those who use visualization with emotional engagement perform better than those who rely only on physical training. Scientists like Joe Dispenza have gathered thousands of documented reports from people who didn't just change their finances or relationships. They healed illnesses once deemed incurable, simply by aligning mind, heart, and action with a new vibrational identity. These stories all share one thing. They didn't start from the outside. The change wasn't a result of reality, it was the cause of it. You don't need to be famous, rich, or enlightened to change your frequency. You just need to decide it's time to be who you truly are. You've made it this far, and that, in itself, is already a sign of something important. There is a real call for transformation within you. Throughout this video, you've discovered that reality doesn't respond to what you say you want, but to what you consistently vibrate, with emotion, with presence, with coherence. You've come to understand that everything is energy, including you. Your identity is a neural and vibrational pattern, and it can be transformed. Your heart is a frequency emitter more powerful than your brain. The universe is a quantum mirror reflecting your dominant frequency. And simple, consistent practices can shift your vibrational signature, and with it, your reality. If there's one sentence to take from this video, let it be this: your reality is not shaped by what you desire, but by the frequency of the identity you sustain. You may want a new life, but to live it, you must first become someone who vibrates as if they already live that new life. This doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. It requires conscious intention. It requires the commitment to no longer live on autopilot. Because when you change who you are being, the universe has no choice but to respond, to reflect, to deliver. So here's the invitation. Leave a comment below. What was your biggest insight from this video? What touched you, awakened something, or brought clarity? And if you're ready for the next step, download our free 7-day guided challenge to shift your frequency of identity. The link is in the description. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this truth. Because the world doesn't change when everyone wakes up at once. It changes every time one person chooses to vibrate differently. Maybe that person is you. Change your frequency, and the universe will have no choice but to align with the new version of you.